Hello, and welcome to the Divine Feminine Leaders Podcast. My name is Celeste Hartwell, and today I am so excited to be sharing with you yet another episode. I don't feel like I ever say it often enough, but we really appreciate you as the viewer, as the listener, to really hone in on this information and to be open and willing to receive it in a really powerful way. We are really what this podcast, what the focus is it's a feminine view of entrepreneurship for women and by women. And what that really means to me is really helping women know that no matter where you are in your life, in your journey, that you can always take a different course of action. You can always change your life and really create more bliss, create more joy, moving through whatever dark times there are, seeing what's there for you, honoring that, and really understanding that it's only a small step in the bigger scheme of life. And so in that vein, today I'm really honored and excited to be sharing with you Margarita Alcantara. I guess I didn't ask how to pronounce it, but and she's an activator of the new code of power, activating the power codes and others, as well as opening portals of power on Mother Gaia. She does this by opening the door to the source of true power, to clear artificial power and unify Earth into light. She is a mouthpiece for the goddess consciousness, an embodiment of Mother Gaia, conduit between the Star Nation and Mother Gaia, and chakra expert. Her worldwide global activation experiences create personal and planetary transformation. As a licensed acupuncturist, Reiki master, teacher, and medicine woman, she helps her patients awaken into their spiritual badassery at her private practice in New York City. She channels powerful healing at her weekly Monday Facebook Live event, the Mother Gaia Power Portal. And she is a contributing writer to the Huffington Post, Mind, Body, Green, and Elephant Journal. Her book, Chakra Healing, was published by Althea Press, and I believe it's on Amazon as well, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I am so excited to have Margarita here. I actually met her at an event that I spoke at almost 2 years ago. It's been a while. And we both have had some pretty major transformations since that time. And it's been such incredible for me to watch her journey on Facebook and social media. And so I'm so honored to have you here. Welcome, Margarita. Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you for inviting me to even be on this podcast because, first of all, the name of your podcast is everything. And I know that I've been following you on your journey recently and how much you've just really exponentially expanded and grown. And I kind of feel like that's a reflection of me as well. Like I've definitely been doing that since we first met. I guess that was around 2 years ago now. And so much has happened. And so I'm so grateful that you invited me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So it feels like you're doing very different work than when I originally met you. And I want to hear a little bit about what I really like to showcase for women who are having any overwhelm or anxiety, or maybe they're having like these awful things happening in their lives. And they're just in that process of taking the steps to come into their brilliance and to live their life with confidence and clarity. And so you just created a post a couple days ago, and that was when I went, oh, she needs to be on the show. And you were talking about a rough time in your life and how you really like everything's changed now. So can you talk to us a little bit about where you started and where you are now?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking, first of all. And, it's one of those things where it's interesting because I don't really talk about all the painful stuff. Because I touch upon it to make a statement sometimes, but like in general, I don't really talk about it because it's one thing that I noticed a lot of folks who are in the love and light community, they talk about their traumas a lot, and then they just process and process and process rather than moving into the next level of empowerment. So that was one reason why. But where I started off, basically I grew up in Pittsburgh, PA. And then I came here to New York City for undergrad, and then I stayed here ever since. So, it's like I've been here, I think, 3/4 of my life now or something like that. And, what people see now when they work with me or they see me on videos or whatever, is that they view me as this, like I'm in my power and all this stuff. And that is true, and it's something that you consistently show up for and continuously choose. But it's one of those things where the reason why I'm so good at it now is because I was so bad at it before. And that's always how our powers show up, is that our powers always show up as the thing we're dealing, like grappling with and struggling with the most. And so, that's one thing that I share with some people, is that I let them know that, because they'll be like, oh, I hate that I'm XYZ, and it's like, you should really embrace it, because the truth is that there's a juicy nugget of golden wisdom in this thing you're experiencing right now. And it's actually giving you a very clear sign of where your power is, and so for me, I was like completely feeling powerless. I kind of grew up in a violent household, and so then I learned certain behaviors that were false, so that was something that I got to break through, like when I got into my 20s and all that. And of course, there's that part where you're that young person who acts out against the world. And so I was like into punk rock and all that stuff. And I wrote this independent zine, and I was confronting, all different kinds of intersections around race and sexuality and, feminism and blah, blah, blah. And so it was a really great form of dialogue. But the truth is that, there were so many layers and pieces that I got to learn in order to get empowered. And that, first of all, meant that I needed to trust my intuition, because that was one of the first things that I killed off when I was disempowered, because I kept getting that whole thing of, you're too sensitive, you need to cut that out, you're like, I'm like basically being told that you're so weird because you're so, you feel so much or something like that. So I killed off my feelings, I killed off my intuition, I shut down my third eye, on purpose, because I just wanted to fit in, and then I just, kept silent, because I'm like, well, obviously what I have to say is either not important, is ridiculous, or it's not helpful to the world. So I just shut all of it down, and what that did was that it propelled me into like basically a shamanic journey, a shamanic awakening. And afterwards, that's what I'm seeing it as, and I'm seeing the value of it. But I mean, basically, when you shut down your intuition, you shut down your power, and then you become open to whatever wants to manipulate your potential and your raw energy. And I had a lot of it. And so I got really into that depth of, like pain and despair and depression and blah, blah, blah. And like everything, like all the negative forces, like were just having a field day with me. I was like their buffet. And so like, basically that was my life for a while. And, like after many psychiatric cocktails later, finally I got to this point where I just started meditating just because I heard it was good for you or something. And then I think it was like from there, it was like the negative forces were like, oh crap, we're done. So, because that's when I just started getting more and more like touching base with myself. And from that point on, I got off all the meds. I started trusting my power. I started claiming my power. I started like creating healthy boundaries. I was just like, no one is ever going to penetrate through that, creating this pain and negativity connection with me ever again. And I was not going to do that to myself. And so that's kind of like where my reclaiming of my power started, because it kind of got to this point that if I don't, I will die. And really became this life and death situation that if I keep going at the rate I'm going, I'm going to be dead somewhere. And either at my own hand or someone else's hand, because I was really like getting like, I was just like so rageful. And that was because I had shut down my own voice. So I did that to myself. And so that's the thing, is that we get to have the power to reclaim, no matter where we're at, to reclaim our power, and see where we created our situation and where we get to recreate our lives in the form and fashion that is more aligned with us. And so that's basically what I did. And it was kind of a long road, because that was back in the day. But like in the past 3 years, that's basically when I woke up into my starseed awakening. And then I just remembered like who I've been before and what my impact was back then and what I was being called to reprise in this lifetime. And like I got clear on my mission. And I just realized that, you know, I there was a part of me that felt like I was wasting time, but the truth was I wasn't. You know, this part of the, you know, what we get to do in our lives is, you know, this is Earth School, and I had a lot to learn, and I'm always open to learning. So you know, I will never stop learning. So that's like where it started, and that's where I emerged into, and now it's like I never look back, because, you know, I'm just like full on committed to my purpose and my mission and my work, and, you know, being this conduit of light, and of change and impact. So that's my jam.
I love it. And I do feel like, thank you so much for that answer and that conversation. I had never heard anyone speak on before about how when you shut down your intuition, then you're really allowing other forces, other energies to come in. But it's so true. And I love the fact that you're explaining what happened in the past, but you're not going back into the story, right? Because so often we do re-traumatize ourselves over and over again about going in the story. So there is like something really powerful about that. So thank you so much for that. That's so delicious. I'm
Thank
like, ooh.
you. Yeah.
And I want you to dive down a little bit into the definition of a starseed for someone who is new to this and is like, I want to get on board with what you're saying, but I'm not quite sure what that is. Like, well,
Yeah.
explain a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for asking. And it's actually, you know, not something that I think most people hear about, but star seeds are basically those who have origins and roots in other star systems other than, you know, our Earth planet, and who have purposely incarnated on this planet in this lifetime mostly, even though, you know, star seeds have been around, in order to help awaken humanity into the next level of consciousness. And that was something that, you know, like, frankly, like 3 years ago, that, you know, like I think I could have gotten the gist of what that meant. But when I woke up into that remembrance of myself, as, you know, like, oh my God, I actually, these were my origins, and I came here, and I'm remembering why. And it's kind of like, you know, it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, those spies who, like, you give a code name and they like wake up and then they, like, you know, go into action, and I kind of feel like that, you know. And it's just but that's really what a starseed is that they come from another star system on purpose, usually at this time, because this is this juicy ascension time. And so it's kind of like our job to be part of the fireworks that humanity is experiencing right now with the awakening we're having.
I love that. And so there's so much in there. What came up for me? Something came up. Maybe I'm losing it. Tell me about the awakening that you had. Like, I'm curious. Like, it sounds like you had this moment where all of a sudden you had this remembrance, and I want to honor that it's not always this way for people. So just to let people know, like, you're not doing anything wrong if that's not your experience. But I'm fascinated about what happened? Where were you? What was going on? Tell us about it.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that also, because I actually forget to say that. I actually forget to say it's not this, bam experience most of the time. And for me, to be honest, there was like an unfolding within a few months, like maybe 3 to 6 months. And then during that time, it was like, what? Oh my God, like it just like kept unfolding. And basically when you first met me, like, I guess it was 2 years ago or whatever, I had just started coming to terms with being out about it per se, because, I mean, I've had a lot of baggage around even just saying the whole starseed identification, because of what that means, because of what kind of attention that could create, and I didn't know what to do with that. But to answer your question, it was kind of like a small, like between 3 to 6 months, I was already doing some, receiving healing sessions. I think, me and my partner, my twin flame, we were just, as twin flames do, you kind of instigate each other into this next level of consciousness. And so that's what we were doing with each other. And just like by our existence and by being in the relationship. And so, and he actually, I'm not the type of person who remembers all the details and historical references and stuff, but he's that type. And so he, like, I think because with us getting together, and then I started like slowly like remembering like my Syrian star family, and then once I just like remembered my Syrian star family, like all of it just flooded in, like all this memory, and I was like bawling for like a day and a half perhaps, because it's kind of like that thing where it makes no sense why I felt like I was crying for people I've never met before, but obviously I have, because they're my family as well, and so it was kind of like this bittersweet remembrance of a family that I had left behind on purpose, and because I knew what I needed to do, and so that was like, and so that, eventually, the tears passed, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I can remember this now. And so what does this mean now? And so as it was unfolding, I started remembering a little bit through my partner, but also through my own memories, because it just started like melding together. That we remember that we had past lifetimes together. And one of the more significant ones was when this planet was still called Terra, not Gaia or Mother Earth, or, the planet Earth. And we were on one continent. It was like not a bunch of different continents. It was just one continent. And the dinosaurs were still around. And we were kind of leaders of a group of people that eventually branched out into the native tribes we see today in the world. We were not human. We were not from this planet. But I think I kind of was, like, he was definitely not. I was a little bit more indigenous to the planet, although technically I wasn't human. And we were very tall. My name was Lady Light Starbringer, and his name was Proud Wolf Star. And so his vision was that, he was very good at seeing the patterns in our people. And so he would anticipate what would happen, and he would kind of strategize. So that was his thing. For me, as a Lady Light Starbringer, I would go to certain areas like mountains and things like that. And whenever Gaia was in trouble, I would go up to the mountains and I'd call down the Star Nation. And the Star Nation is kind of like the Galactic Federation of Light. It's the native term for the Galactic Federation of Light. And basically what that is, it's kind of like, and like in Star Wars, you see this Galactic Federation. It's kind of like that, where you get all these representatives from different star systems. And but this is all for the light. It's all for the light of the universe. And so they come together for the purpose of that, and promoting that peace and high vibration in the entire universe. So I am a conduit between the Star Nation and Mother Gaia. And so I would draw them down, and I'd ask them for help when she was in trouble. And so so then I remembered that, and I started having a lot of memories. And what was interesting was that I was like, well, this is not coincidence that I'm remembering it now, because she needs help. Mother Gaia needs help. Humanity, we have not been great stewards. And and basically part of the reason why her vibration has been low was because of us, not taking care of her. And then also there were these cosmic wars and all this stuff. So that's why I remembered it. And then when I realized that that's why I was remembering it, I was just like, oh my God, it's time to show up. It's time for me to go to work. And so ever since, I have now been like also remembering that I'm also this new code of power. So basically the true power that all of humanity has access to, I have that ability to activate people into that, and then also open up portals of power on Gaia in order to help her get activated and heightened also, because she's a being as well, and so, really just showing up and activating others so that we can all be in our power in this higher, our truth, because the truth is we are all so powerful, and we're so not tapping into into our whole DNA thing, we've got 12 strands of DNA. Science has only encountered, or identified 2, but there are like 10 other strands, and they're all linked to our divinity. And that's why they call it just junk DNA, because they don't know what to do with it. But my work and my job is to activate these divinity codes of people's power, in our latent DNA, because we all have it. So that's my work. And now, Gaia is basically also, told me, I'd like for you to go here and then here and here, open these portals of power. So she actually did give me a list. And so I started on the list last year with Mount Shasta, because that's where she wanted me to start opening ceremony at first. Then this year it was Machu Picchu. And soon I'll be announcing like where we're going to go to next. And I already have it. It's going to be very uber powerful. And so it's just all this work has just been amazing. I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful to be able to do this work. So, that was kind of like a long answer to your question.
I love it though. It's so rich. And I think I had sent you a message about this a couple months ago where I was like, thank you for showing up and saying all that you say, because I feel like in conventional worlds, people would be like, what the hell is she talking about? And is this a real thing? And I just had this flash one moment where I was like, she's just saying the thing that she feels called to say. She's living in her divinity. She's living in her inspired, whatever you're inspired to, how you're inspired to show up, how you're inspired to teach, how you're inspired to bring love and light and, heal the planet in these different ways and bring ceremony and do these activations. Fuck what everybody else thinks, right? Like, and I love that you really are standing in your power. And that was a big reason why I wanted you to come on the show too, because I was just like, whether a listener or a viewer gets it, we're planting seeds here, right? That we are divine beings, that we are here for a bigger reason. And it sounds like your work now is like helping people really unlock what that is for them. So talk to us a little bit about that. I love it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Like, thank you. And like, I love the word unlocking, because that's exactly what it is. Because it's kind of like, if you can imagine little sleeper cells, like, I'm being very secretive, but it's like little sleeper cells in all of us. But it's like you unlock like a key and you open it up and you're just like, oh my God, like I actually have the ability to have telepathy. Like, everyone does, right? Like, we're all psychic. We all have telepathic abilities. We can all rejuvenate ourselves, like without food. Like, if we wanted to, like we have so much access to a higher level of living and being and embodiment. And we're just not tapping into it because partially we just didn't know, but also because there was some programming that was involved in that, because, and this is where some folks might just be like, what? But like there's like some genetic stuff, humanity is kind of like, we were experimented on, by those of light and those not of light. And those of light were actually trying to help us to, like, because we're actually, to put it plainly, we're a galactic mixture of many different planetary races in our genetic coding. Whether or not we tap into it completely is up to us. But, the truth is the reason why there was such a fuss made about us as humans is because we have so much potential. Like, if we only tapped into our fullness of our full genetic coding, we actually have the ability that not all star folks don't really have this ability where you can jump in between dimensions, like third dimension, fifth dimension, eighth dimension, whatever. Like, but we can because we have that genetic ability. And if we develop it. And so that's why those of light did this programming on purpose so that we could ascend and then also do like so many amazing things. But because we are so powerful, those forces not of light, we're just like, oh my God, let's keep them on the down low. Because then we can't control them, so that's why you see so much fear in the world. Like, that's how we get controlled. That's how we get manipulated, is through all the fear of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not powerful. I don't have access to money. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Like, all these things that we grew up learning and struggling from and embodying our power into is a result of these belief systems, which are false. And so it's basically our work to, instead of believing all the fear, which we see so much in the world, is to believe our truth. And so part of unlocking the codes, that's why I'm so driven, because as I continue to do this work, I see, not only on our human level, but I see how, I kind of do a lot of work, on other planes, and I see how we've been like really believing a lie. We've been really believing this whole thing of like, oh my God, we're so disempowered. People have power over us. And the truth is we are actually so much more powerful than all these negative forces. And if we only realized how powerful we are, that's why that fear is in place, because if we only realized how powerful we are, like, we would just be bam, like supernova, like we are changing the planet. If we only realized how powerful our words and our thoughts, we can change things and unlock our power.
I love all of that. And I do feel like part of our path to unlocking our full power is to be intentional with am I using that power? In what way am I using that power, right? Like, because if we're using it from a space of love instead of a space of fear or ego, then it's clearly helping everyone. But when we're doing it from another space, that's when we can destroy nations.
Absolutely. And, and the truth is, those people who use power to destroy nations, it's actually not true power. It's what I call artificial power, because it's not even real. They're actually sourcing power from an old paradigm that's actually dead now. We're actually in the new paradigm now. We actually all have access to this new energy that is here to lift us and support us. And that is our true power. Anything aligned with our light, with our love, and with our mission in this world to make an impact and a difference in this world, that's what is aligned with our true power. So even like old paradigms of power within the government, that's starting to break up. I've been doing work on that too, because that's all artificial power as well. And so things are starting to break up, and it's amazing what we all get to experience.
And it's exciting. It's exciting times, I think, too, to watch when we really are able to stand in a space of love and saying that everything is for the best and that everything is working for us. then we're able to see that no matter how dire a situation looks, it really is serving us.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about how you're working with these different energies of the power breakdown of, getting rid of the fake power and really helping Mother Gaia, and explain to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, some of it is going to probably sound a little like kind of out there or esoteric for some folks, but like on the earthly plane, it looks like that's part of where my entrepreneur boss babe comes in, is like, I actually will have offerings. I have my conscious power mentorship for women, where I help them get activated into their conscious power, and then make an impact in the world, because they're all really powerful and they're learning to get to their next level. And so on this earthly plane, like that's partially it. It's also, performing activations all around the globe. So that sometimes looks like retreats, but it's not like a retreat per se, even though it is luxurious at the same time, but it's also this experience. That's really what it is. It's an experience. And so that's where a lot of my entrepreneurship shows up, because that's where I'm offering what my work is to others. And so I'll do like activation packages, conscious power mentorship, the global activations, things like that. And then on the other realms, like for instance, even just yesterday, I did some work on the Tree of Life. And, the Tree of Life actually has, just as an example, there are so many versions out there of what we feel are, these wonderful bastions of, source energy, which they are, but they also have created, the negative forces have also created kind of like a negative version of these things. So that's the case with the Tree of Life. So there's the original Tree of Life, and then there's the artificial Tree of Life. And so I was called to do some work, to blast some of that artificial Tree of Life thing. And I just inserted my codes of power to like infiltrate like the roots and the trunks, and just, it's all kind of like coding. That's why when you hear anyone talking about activations, or activating your codes of power or your DNA frequency, they talk a lot about downloads, uploads, programming, things like that, because it really is kind of like this matrix that we create. And so, like some people would say that where we live in is a hologram, and I won't go too deep into that, but it's like this whole piece around creation and frequency. And so yesterday I did some work on, helping that artificial Tree of Life like start to dismantle from the inside. And then I did some work on the original Tree of Life to help recode, because I saw that there were some fractals that were missing and some of the leaves had fallen off. And so just really inserting this new code of power into this golden light so that it could get reconfigured. And so that's just kind of like an example of what I might do on these other levels. So, yeah. So, and that's very helpful for the rest of us.
Yeah, it sounds powerful. I mean, if the Tree of Life is having some issues, it feels like that would affect all of us, the entire collective, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really great. Thank you for doing that work. And I love it. I just love it. I love it all.
Me too.
So you live in New York City, and you do actually see clients in physical as well as online. Is that true?
Yes, yes. And I still do have my private practice, although I've lessened my days at my private practice for acupuncture and Reiki, because I'm going into this more expanded work with the activations, because that's my real calling. But I still do have a private practice here in New York City. And so I do perform acupuncture, Reiki, and things like that there. And but yeah, like in terms of seeing my clients for my activation work, sometimes it's in person, but usually it's like virtual. I mean, I have some who are based in New York. I have a current client who's in Singapore. One of my previous mentees, she was based in New Zealand. So, there's a lot of people all over the planet who, I've been really grateful to work with.
That's really cool. And so how do you help people step into their fullness? How do you help them unlock their codes and really step into their own power and their own divinity?
Yeah, well, the way I do that is that I basically open the door to, the door of source of their true power, and then I start like activating it, basically waking up their DNA codes around that. And for that, everyone's different. And part of what I do is that, because I'm also a shamanic practitioner, is that sometimes people have stuff, like some baggage, and for a lot of women in particular, for instance. Especially women who are powerful, especially who are mystics and seers and things like that. In this lifetime, they were also in previous lifetimes. And what has often happened is that they've been persecuted, they've been burned at the stake, people they love have been killed. And so then in this lifetime, they're like, oh my God, I'm so not going to be in my power. Fuck that. I'm not going to, I would rather have all my like people I love in my life be alive. It's that visceral traumatic experience that a lot of women, powerful women have. And so a lot of my work that I've noticed is helping, doing some portal jumping and time jumping to like, first of all, see what the truth is around all that, because there's just this visceral reaction of like, oh my God, I was burned at the stake, I'm not going to be in my power, and that's the end of the story. But if they're strong enough, they will still come forward and be like, Margarita, help me, I'm ready. And so then I will bring them into, we'll do some traveling, and I'll help them heal these aspects of themselves where they're just like in this visceral fear state around their power, and help them heal that, and then bring them back into this lifetime, so that they can also feel that ripple effect of that healing from past lives. Sometimes, and this is another thing that I've noticed with a lot of really powerful women on the spiritual level, is that a lot of powerful women are now choosing to heal their ancestor and their ancestral lines. And so, like, in other words, it's that whole thing of it stops with me, right? So like there's a lot of ancestral trauma that's been handed down and handed down, and sometimes it shows up as certain ailments. Oftentimes I see it showing up as asthma, as like feeling disempowered. A lot of them might feel they're cursed. That's something they say to me often. And the truth is that when you're in your power, no one can really perpetrate any curse on you.
Right.
That's just the truth. And but I know that there are a lot of cultural traditional folks who might feel otherwise. But so that is also sometimes part of the work, is to help clear all of that old stuff, all those blocks. And then when that's all cleared, then I go in and I do an activation to activate them into their power. And of course, we've talked beforehand. So I will also find out what it is they desire to create in life, what's their big vision in the world, what they want to overcome, and that kind of thing. So I already know what my directive is. And so when we do the activation, it'll be very tailored, it'll be very customized, it'll sound and come across like a visualization or me leading a meditation. But what I'm actually doing is I'm reconfiguring timelines, I'm splicing out old patterns that don't serve that person anymore. I'm inserting new codes of their power, like the awakened version. Sometimes I'm awakening their light body, or like I'm activating their crystalline divinity, or whatever's being called for their next level of expansion and unlimitedness. So I just tap in and I just go for it, and I don't plan any of it, which was part of what I was sharing with you, that whole trust thing. Because for me to just trust that whatever I say will actually make a positive impact, that took a lot of trust on my part, especially if it's not planned. So.
I love that. And I feel like it's spiritual surgery. Like that's really what you're doing, right? And it's interesting when you talked about, in prior lifetimes we've been burned to the stake. I did 30 days in silence last year, and that was an image that came multiple times. And so I healed her over and over and over. And I think it was the third time that it really was like, okay, now it is safe for me to step into my power in a bigger way, because there is that, we have, whether it's ancestral or our own past incarnations, we have all of that. And I've shared that on this podcast before, but there, like when I clicked the button to submit this, the first episode, when I aired the first episode, it was weird that there wasn't confetti coming out of the sky. Like, what, wasn't that a thing? But what I didn't see was that I had a fear that the villagers were going to come and burn my house down. Yes. And that was what had helped me stay in fear and not release this 3.5 years ago when it was first given to me intuitively.
So powerful.
Yeah. So sometimes we don't know why we're sitting in these spaces of resistance and sometimes rightfully so. We sit in resistance and we're learning lessons along the way, right? But sometimes it's great to get help from someone like Margarita or whoever you feel called to get help from, to say, what is really going on here? How can I really step into my power? I know that I'm here for something really important, for something way bigger. I'm here to help, right? I don't know what that means, but how can I do that? And it's so worth it. Like,
completely is worth it. All the pain, the challenges, as you said, sometimes, it's there for us to learn, right? But then sometimes it's there for us to release, but we get to figure it out, and we get to grow from it, and when we do, it's just exponential. And so, it actually gave me shivers to hear the whole story that you shared around, the memory of being burned at the stake and villagers coming to burn your house down and all this stuff, because that was a thing for a lot of powerful women, and I mean, it's something I've heard, actually, interestingly enough, often from a lot of powerful women. When I get on these enrollment calls with folks and strategy calls with folks, that's like a thing that they'll be like, well, something that's keeping me from my power is that, I'm afraid to be in my power. And then I go deeper, and then I find out that they have memories. And some of them don't even realize that they have memories. They're just functioning from this survival instinct of like, oh my God, I just can't. I'll die. I'll die. Like, if I'm visible, I will die. If I speak, I will die. If I allow myself to see through my third eye, people I love are going to be killed. Like, I mean, that's the equation for a lot of powerful women. And so this is our time to realize that we are not only remembering this now so we can heal it and shift from it, but then now we can be those seers and healers and mystics, making powerful change in the world. And now it is safe for you to be powerful.
It is so safe. It is so safe. That
Yes.
is the thing. Now we live in a society that it is safe to be that, to be exactly what you want to be. So I just feel like that's like a mic drop moment.
Yes.
That it's thank you for saying that. It is so powerful. And again, when we learn to come back to our intuition, when we learn to come back to who we really are. So I'm curious about if you have any specific daily practices, weekly practices, monthly practices for self-care to really help you tune in, that maybe somebody will go, I feel called to do that. Like,
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us on that?
For me, like personally, I'll just speak for myself. Meditation has been a number one non-negotiable. Like, every morning, I don't care if I have to get on a plane at 5 a.m, I will get up at 3, and just so I can have an hour meditation, and then, get ready and do whatever for the other hour. But I will always carve out time for meditation before I start my day, because in the beginning, when I first started meditation, it was just because I had a lot of anxiety. And to be honest, like I had a day job, and when I would wake up, I actually had nausea because I was like, I don't like this day job, you know, like, and that was usually for any day job I had. And that was because I didn't really enjoy, I'm not the type of person who works for someone else. Like, I mean, and I only realized that after the fact,
Yeah.
but I was trying to fit it in the box, like, you know, again. So, but that was part of the reason why I meditated. So meditation is one of my non-negotiables. That helps you connect with your crown chakra. It helps you connect with your third eye. It helps you develop your consciousness at a higher level, and to cultivate that so that when shit does hit the fan, you have your faculties, you have a toolbox that you can source from, and you can access a sense of calm that people who are not cultivating their mindset have. So that's one. Another aspect is really cultivating like a no distraction mindset, where you are always focusing on what you do want to create. Because one thing that I notice about a lot of women who are powerful but who are not where they want to be is that they keep on kind of cultivating like this fear-based mindset, you know, like of I'm scared to either be in my power, I'm scared that I don't have money, I'm scared to do what I really want to do in life, I'm scared for this, I'm scared for that, and everything coming from this scarcity or fear. And when we create from that mindset, then we will just create more of that. And we will never get anywhere except create more fear. And then we'll just be like, why am I not advancing? And so for a lot of people, especially who are in the love and light community, in the spiritual community, a lot of them have this impression that, you know, oh, I'll just think happy thoughts and then everything is going to come to me. And the truth is, that's not how it works. You know, you like, sure, the happy thoughts and the productive thoughts are helpful, but where they stop is, you know, they think the happy thoughts, if it doesn't happen in like 5 seconds, then they give up and they're like, okay, it's not working. And the truth is that when you're actually stepping into your power, you need to continually choose what you want. You need to, like, because every single moment you're always choosing something. Even making a choice is a choice. So, you know, one of those things that I cultivate daily is that I'm always being on purpose with my choices. And I'm saying, is this in alignment with my mission? If it's not, I kind of let it die off. And that's the same thing with people. You know, I'm just being really honest, is that like, I'm very, you know, I'm very diligent because I mean, as an empath, as a light worker, as a person who's working at these higher levels, and I have to be clear in my vessel. So like, I don't entertain any energies and frequencies that are not helpful towards that end. And so if there's some distraction energy or some negativity coming, I just cut it off, you know, because it's like, you know, I don't have time for that. So, you know, it's just, it's one of those things where I just stay focused and keep choosing what's aligned with me, and keep showing up. And I keep doing the scary things because that's another thing, is that a lot of people in the spiritual community, they're like, oh, it doesn't feel right. I feel stretched. It's, you know, that kind of thing. And they're like, this is a sign from my spirit guides or from the universe that I need to stop. And it's like, no, it's a sign that you are about to enter the next level. And this adrenaline and, you know, kind of fear of what you're about to leave behind is required in order for you to get to that next level. And so that's where you get to grow and you get to choose what's scary. And so I kind of have a saying that it's not mine because I've heard it before, but you know, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's the only way you grow. Because you can stay safe, but you will not grow that way. And if you're going to just kind of live your life day in, day out, being safe, that is one of the most boring, unfulfilling ways to live your life I can imagine. And so for me, I choose continuously stepping up, learning new things, doing things that scare me, because I know that it's good for me. And, you know, I may not jump on it like, you know, with excitement in the very beginning. But I, like, in 5 seconds after I get over that, like, I'll be like, okay, yes, let's do that. You know, if I know it's in alignment with what I need to do. So it's just one of those things that those are kind of like the two highest on my priority list is get your mindset right. By being comfortable with being uncomfortable, keep up leveling, keep moving, keep growing, keep looking into the fears, see what the value is, and what the wisdom is for you. Because I'm sure that whatever you're fearing right now, the most scariest thing you're fearing right now is actually connected to you unleashing your power. And meditation. Those are my two highest things. But then also just like everything else is kind of like basically aligned with, everything that I choose is something that's in alignment with my work and with me. So it's just something I'm very diligent about.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. I too meditate for an hour a day, and it's life changing. And it's so interesting that you talked about choosing your path and choosing what you're stepping into continuously, because I mean, clearly the collective, we all get the same information when we're open to it, right? And just a couple weeks ago, I just got the nudge, like, journal every morning. I choose. What am I choosing? I'm choosing to be committed to my partner. I'm choosing to be committed to the podcast. I'm choosing to be committed to my business. Like, I'm choosing all of these things. And it's such a powerful practice to continually, you're literally like, all your things that you just shared are all the things that I believe in so fully. Like, when I'm super afraid of something, I'm always like, shit. That's my next step.
Yeah.
That's my next step.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, damn it.
I know. I hear you. Yeah.
Then you get over it, and then you move forward and you do the thing. And then, on a human level, like, the sense of pride and the sense of accomplishment and the confidence that comes with that then makes it easier in some sense to continue on being uncomfortable and being uncomfortable and being uncomfortable for that growth, for what we're here for.
Yeah. And actually it's that whole thing of taking responsibility for everything in your life. Right. And that's not like to be all judgy and stuff like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if there's something you don't like in your life, change it, like either, if it's not in alignment, drop it. Or if it's something that it just needs some tweaking, then tweak it, but it's like whatever you want, you get to have. And as women entrepreneurs and divine feminine leaders, we get to have everything that we want, not from I want blah, 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 it's like, no, it's because we are divine beings. We get to experience abundance on all levels. That means love, joy, health, relationships, wealth, like everything, impact, so we get to have everything that we desire. And that's something that we get to choose if we take responsibility. And that's why all of this choosing that you described, that's part of it, because then we're taking ownership. We're taking ownership of what we're choosing. We're saying, okay, I'm choosing this choice. And I could have chosen that. And maybe some days we do choose that. But then when we realize, okay, that didn't work, so I'm going to choose that instead. And, whatever, we're human-ish. So we can make these choices and get empowered, and to also realize that we don't fail, we're just learning.
Right. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the path that's going. I love it. So you have a free gift for people. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have a free gift for you guys, where it is a starseed power activation video. And so basically it's, I think it's about maybe 20 minutes or something like that, but it's an activation video where I am performing an activation to activate your starseed power, and to really awaken within you like that cosmic remembrance of your DNA, of your being, so that you can like really tap into your celestial self and just embody yourself on this bigger scale, open up into it, expand into it, and really just be more of who you really are. And so that's just open up, activate that DNA frequency within yourself. So that's my free gift to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And where can people find that, or are you going to give me the link and then I can post it?
Yeah, I'll give you a link for
Okay.
sure.
Perfect. So we'll have that in the comments on the divinefemineneleaders.com/Margarita Alcantara. And we will, so that you can download that free gift from Margarita. Thank you so much for being here with me today and for having this conversation. I'm so excited about hearing the viewers and the listeners' comments on like how this moved them, how this changed them, how this opened up some type of new information for them. Maybe it was the aha around why they're having so much fear around moving forward on a project or anything else. And I really, really want to honor you for, again, really stepping into all of who you are, your entire power, and then showing up and helping others do the same thing. It's so magical and so incredible.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So if you loved this episode, if you feel like you got a lot of ahas out of it, please feel free to share this with family, friends, anyone who you feel it's really going to make a positive impact for. We so appreciate you every time before we come into this space. We really set the energy. We really set the tone that you get exactly what you need, that everything, that you know that everything is here for you, that whatever you want in your life is just a matter of you being open to understanding that it's available for you and being able to receive that. And so absolutely, if you feel called to work with Margarita or talk to her a little bit more, you'll have all that information on the website and my Facebook page and Instagram page to find that. And both of those are Celeste Hartwell on Facebook as well as Instagram. And again, we are the Divine Feminine Leaders Podcast. We are a feminine view of entrepreneurship for women, by women, and we honor you on your journey wherever you are and appreciate you so, so much. We love you. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you.